Bye. Yeah. So good evening, everybody. So today we are starting with yesterday we have polity society discussions. Today we'll continue with ethics, integrity and aptitude. Today we'll be focusing on section A part only. And tomorrow 5 o'clock we'll have the continuation of discussion on the case studies part. Okay. So before starting the course, let me start with 3 courses that is being launched regarding the ethics course. Yeah, so you have access to this course. You can get all the details from the website. The basic idea of launching 3 different courses is every student has his own XYZ needs. Everyone is not on the same plane. Somebody who has written mains, he has totally different kind of requirements during the next 3 months. Mostly everyone is associated with some kind of mains preparation. Either you will be doing optionals or you will be associated with some kind of answer writing programs. In ethics, one thing you should focus on those subjects which you completely leave for prelims. From January, every one of you might be studying only prelims part, and ethics you will be completely not touching at all for the next 5 months. So try to consolidate whatever knowledge you have, try to write at least few tests, try to have a specific plan what you are going to do for ethics or any other subject. Per se, those subjects like world history, those subjects like essay, those subjects like IR or security, these subjects you cannot touch during the prelims preparation mode. So consolidate the preparation what you have done for the ethics, these subjects, and before the December. That should be your overall plan. And what you should do, that totally based on what level of preparation you are. Are you a student who already done with the main syllabus? Are you a student who have already written mains and not able to score good in ethics? Or what is your kind of requirement? Depending on that, you can look at these courses and only join if these courses meet your requirement. There is no point in joining a number of courses or joining X number of videos. At the end of the day, if you should understand where you stand, and if this meets your requirement, then go and join, then utilize the available resources. First course is Ethics Foundation course. This will be somewhat around a 40-hour lecture series which completely discusses ethics from the scratch, how to develop arguments, how to learn examples. All these elements will be discussed in this course very in detailed manner. Then the next major program, this we have run successfully for Mains 2023 also. That is the Ethics Marks Improvement Program. Mark Improvement Program basically contains a 20-hour recorded video sessions. These sessions will be kind of a main focus is I assume that you already read some books on ethics. You already done some courses on ethics. You are fairly aware of the syllabus. What you need is some kind of guidance for answer writing. You need to step up your answer writing skills. We have seen in this year paper, we are going to see in this discussion video also how you are going to approach different questions, how you are going to approach different parts of the syllabus, how you can get different skills for brainstorming. All these elements will be the main focus of this ethics marks improvement program. It will be associated with an offline workshop for 2 weeks workshop starting from 7th of October. Similarly, we also have the mains test series starting from 7th of October itself. This contains 5 tests with validity till mains 2024. These are all the basics of the courses. Now let's go into major aspect of today's discussion. So in whole, what we are going to do, we are going to discuss each and every question that is being asked in 2023 paper. I hope most of you might have already gone through the paper. You have seen the questions, you have already judged what is the level of questions, what is the expectation, what is the XY setting. How you see the paper? Give me some ideas. How was the paper? Have you gone through it once at least? How was it? You was not able to complete. You tried writing it in 3 hours. Okay. Okay, you wrote the mains. Okay. So how many questions you left? What is the status? 3 questions in section A or case studies? 2 in section A and 1 case study. This is your first mains. Okay. So leaving this paper, it was comparatively, if you look at the last 2 years paper, it was much on a easier side. Like even if you speak from the time management perspective, in 2022, what we have seen is quite lengthy, complex case studies. Even in 2022, we have seen in the section A also, so many questions where you have to interpret what exactly is the question. There are statements having 2-3 dimensions. You have to really understand the question and then go for answering. It also takes some time. But this year, if you look at the most of the section A questions, which we are going to discuss also, mostly straightforward question. Now, if you prepare the syllabus, you should have some kind of content for most of the question. Only very few questions like Guru Nanak, maybe you haven't readily prepared for ethics, or maybe the social capital question, you might have heard it in the economy or GS3, but ethics you are not expecting social capital question. So one or two bouncer question, but that also you can write something about social capital, is not completely unaware. Guru Nanak also you might have seen in the art and culture, history, Sikhism, you can associate with 2-3 principles and write the answer. So otherwise the paper was on easier side. From student perspective, what you can take away from this? There is no point in becoming an advantage as such in having an easy paper or a tough paper. In 2022, if we speak, those who complete the paper, they have immense advantage, because completing itself was a challenge for most of the people. Most of the people come out with leaving many questions. So that in that paper, even if you are not writing introduction in some question, even if you are not writing conclusion in question, but fairly what is asked you are writing, and fairly completing the paper itself gives you some sort of advantage. We have seen many toppers talks also. Like I have seen one topper talk, she told that all section A, she took so much of time that she cannot able to complete the section B if she applied her normal writing style. So what she did is she completely left the intro and conclusion in whole case studies. This is something we don't preach or we don't expect student to copycat. But the idea is that paper was so lengthy that instead of leaving one question completely, leaving intro conclusion for some question was okay in that paper. Now we come to 2023, the dynamics is changing. Here, small case studies you might have seen. Most of the case study has 1 or 2 questions, or that question also is ethical issues and what options you. Very direct, straightforward questions. In section A also, most questions are direct from the syllabus, like emotional intelligence versus cognitive skills. That is what you study when you study emotional intelligence. Probity in governance. What else you study about probity? So many questions are directly picked from the syllabus. So that gives this paper's analysis or students' expectation or requirement little bit different. Here you have to focus little more on quality. Simply completing the paper don't give you that much of an advantage. Here you need to focus on quality. You need to focus on not leaving any part of the paper. Whether it is introduction, whether it is conclusion, whether it is any other part of the answer, you need to focus on it. You should make sure that you are not completely leaving any of the sections. Okay. So on that note, what to expect in this class is general analysis of 2023 GS4 paper. Then what strategies, what takeaways we can look forward to 2024 attempt. That these two things we are going to look forward in this class. Let's start with the first question. So let's go through the question once. What do you understand by moral integrity and professional efficiency in the context of corporate governance? Illustrate with suitable examples. So what are you going to do with this question? Give me. Give me some ideas. How you attempted this question? Defined in the introduction itself, how many parts or what are different parts of the question? Let's try to understand what is expectation. First and foremost, things of answer writing, that is understanding the demand of the question correctly. Like if you want one takeaway from you go from this class, that should be in ethics at least all question 10 markers, you have 2 pages to fill. Exactly 2 pages. By reading the question, the first decision you have to take is how much parts this question is and how much space I am going to allocate to each of these questions. Now why I am not using words? If I use words, then it becomes very subjective. It is different for everyone. Somebody who is writing small handwriting, he might in small Spacey might include more number of words. So it becomes very subjective. But space, that is highly democratic for everyone. 2 pages, whatever even Shashi Tharoor is writing, he also get only 2 pages. You also get only 2 pages. So how you are going to utilize this space? What exactly is the demand of this question? Tell me, what all different parts can this question have? ठीक है, ठीक है. So in the context of corporate governance, 2 terms are being asked, and you have not asked to do any comparative analysis. You are not asked to do any application of these 2 terms. What you want to do is you have to define what is moral integrity. You have to define what is professional efficiency in the context of corporate governance. This meaning you have to bring in your answer. Then add some examples, you are done with it. Nothing beyond that you are required to write. So if I am preparing this answer, 2-3 line I write for introduction. Then there will be, it is better if you can make a box format, otherwise you can give 2 heading. One heading for moral integrity, one heading for professional efficiency. Then definition, whatever 4-5 points I need to generate here, 4-5 points I need to generate here. This will go up to here. At least for 5 points here, 5 points here. At least in this 5 points, 2 points I should have very decent examples. 3.4 points you can add examples, you are good enough. But at least minimum I expect 2 points you have to give some kind of right examples, appropriate example that reflects the meaning of XYZ, what is asked. All points I try to define these terms only. I won't go beyond that. I am not going to do any analysis here. Then I write a conclusion in 3 lines and finish the paper. Clear? इसका आगे कुछ नहीं करना है. Now how to generate these 5 points? Or what exactly to keep in mind in generating these points? These are the areas we are going to see ahead. So you can give some introduction on this regard. Yeah, in introduction itself I am going with the different types of introduction you can give. It's not like this is the only fair type of introduction. You can start with even defining the 2 terms. More or less your whole answer should be directed towards defining moral integrity and professional efficiency. In introduction I use, in corporate governance, moral integrity signifies adherence to ethical standards. Use as simple language as possible. I am not looking at any English language efficiency or better English. It's all, keep that all away. If you are, naturally your English is very good, use whatever English you know. Otherwise keep it as simple as possible. Moral integrity means what? Whatever decision you are taking, you will keep adherence to ethical standards. In corporate governance means whatever decision making is happening in the corporate governance, it will be based on ethical principles. Now professional efficiency means whatever is the professional objectives. So every company has professional objective. If you are running a coaching institute, having more students is professional objective. If you are running some production manufacturing unit, having higher margin, higher profit, making more productions, improving the productivity of the workers, all these are your professional requirements. Now doing that professional requirements, like achieving the professional goals in a competent manner. Competent manner means with less resources, with better environment friendly strategies, better risk management, everything that comes under professional efficiency. So ethical, moral integrity, adherence to ethical standards like honesty and accountability. Professional efficiency indicates competence in whatever XYZ role the company is executing. Going ahead, you can give another type of introduction. You can think on every question of ethics, you can give some or other relation to what exactly is the current affairs relevance of the topic. Like you have seen the Hindenburg accusation against Adani Group, and a lot of XYZ news was going on around that. So whatever, even if it is true or wrong, you don't need to take a stance against or pro Adani Group. What you can mention is there has been collapse in corporate governance, moral integrity, accusations against XYZ Group. That give context to the 2 terms what we are saying. Even both these terms are quite relevant for Adani Group. If you look closely, they are making huge profit, they are expanding year after the year. So professional efficiency, they are keeping it up. But somewhere the accusation, if the accusation is true, it is question of moral integrity. Are they crony capitalist, or are they some other accounting fraud, or these are the major accusations. Stock market manipulation, accounting fraud, and environmental violations. Are they doing it or not doing it? That becomes a controversy. Okay, so you can give a hint to this also, the current affair context also this way also you can start your answer. Going ahead, now what is next part is, I need to understand, give more clarity to what these two terms are in the context of corporate governance. Here we took a very generalistic definition of this. Now we are going into a little bit more depth. How you can generate points? You have any suggestions? How you can generate points, more points in this answer? This is where you require some kind of thought process. You require some kind of frameworks. In our whole workshop classes before 2023 mains, we have developed around 12 different frameworks. And these frameworks more or less covers every part of the syllabus. Now what I always try to teach you is not something content or examples or XYZ. Thing is, you have an approach to the question, approach to the syllabus part, then generating ethical arguments become easy. In this question, what we follow is, what exactly is the corporate governance? Corporate governance, who are all the stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders in corporate governance? It can be the owners or shareholders per se, you can say. It can be the board of directors. Recently, there are cases going on, women should be in the board of directors, X number of persons should be women, 1 in 3 should be women. All these cases you might have read in the newspaper recently. Employees of the company are also stakeholders of corporate governance. Customers are the biggest stakeholder. Government or regulatory bodies, biggest stakeholder. Now, if some pollution case studies, pollution related case studies, the affected community is the local community. Now we have, it is not required you should follow this approach or this same number of people or anyone. You can think of anybody who is XYZ related to corporate governance. Corporate governance decision making, it affects some person, you can include him. Now think what moral integrity and what professional efficiency for each of these stakeholders. Then your work is done. It's quite easy. Anyone, now this answer can be, anyone can write the answer and generate examples. What is moral integrity for shareholders? Dividend size है दो, more financial disclosures, papers should be right. What is professional efficiency? Higher dividend to higher margin of profit though. Share price should not be manipulated. All this comes under professional efficiency. For board of directors, strategies, ethical strategies adopt karo, ethical policy making adopt karo, employee welfare policies adopt karo. That all comes under moral integrity. Professional efficiency hai to you have long term planning. If you are risk management sahi se karo, so that investors are not losing the money. Similarly, employees, for employees, what is moral integrity? Having, give me one example. Following code of ethics, code of conduct, or whatever is XYZ is the policies of the company, adhering to that policy. Now what can be professional efficiency? Getting higher profit, getting higher bonuses, getting rewards for hard work or extra work or whatever you can say. That all comes under professional efficiency. For customers, moral integrity means there is no fake advertisement, there is no fake propaganda. There are so many fairness creams. In 14 days your skin color become this to that. Everything is fake advertisement itself. Nobody is going to change your skin color as such in 10 days or 14 days. So that should not happen. Customers should get honest advertisement, honest information about the consequences of whatever the product they are subjected to. Professional efficiency means they should get it for minimum price. They should get it as per their demand. COVID vaccine, what is professional efficiency for COVID vaccine? You should get availability of the vaccine should be there so that you can go and take the vaccine at required quantity, at required price, at required government hospitals, rural, different areas, it should be made available. Government regulations, what will be moral integrity? You adhere with policies, adhere with rules and regulations. You submit your, what you can say, income tax returns, other returns on time. You don't go into this, what type of companies? Pseudo companies, shell companies. You don't make shell companies and do this base erosion, profit shifting. Don't indulge in that kind of activities. This all comes under moral integrity of, under you can think on these bases, regulatory bodies. Why professional efficiency means you should report on time, you should report all your XYZ deliverables, you should adhere to XYZ terms, conditions, rules, regulations, all these policies in time. 1/3 should be women directors means actual 1/3 should be women directors. Similarly, local communities, if there is an environmental impact, it should be communicated in time. Or if company is looking at long-term strategies, then it should adopt environmental efficient policies. All this you can think on these two headings, and you can generate 5 points, and you can give few examples. IL&F was a famous case of corporate governance, misgovernance, you can say, the corruption case. Similarly, the Kotak Bank, HDFC Bank, they have higher standards of ethical policy making, higher standards of professional efficiency, at least Indian banking sector, many of private banks especially. You can connect with some, if you are not having very specific examples. Think on what are some of the famous corporate scandals. Nirav Modi case, that is, anyway it is a scandal. What Mallya? Vijay Mallya case. Satyam scandal you can think of. If you are thinking on outside India, Dieselgate scandal on this emission for Volkswagen. Volkswagen has manipulated the emissions data. They have told that their vehicle was emitting very less carbon dioxide. It was in like decades back. But then it has been caught by the regulatory bodies. Then it lead to like brand name again got destroyed. Whole the history of brand get destroyed by this bigger scandal. So think on some of the famous scandal you can remember, you can cite some of the examples. Think on some of the best practices. Tata Group, they have one of the strongest ethical policies in India. Give examples. Transparent marketing, some examples they do. Law compliance, social responsibility. Okay, every point you don't know examples, it's perfectly fine. But 2-3 points you can generate examples. 2-3 examples you have heard, you can bring into this answer. If you look at this MIB booklet that has been launched before, n number of examples you can see, like Satyam scandal, Nirav Modi fraud, HDFC Bank has been fined by RBI. That recent case was being cited here. Adani Group accusations, Infosys, there has been whistleblower issues going on in the Infosys. There has been Iran scandal, that is the Volkswagen scandal. Facebook, there has been this, what was its name? Cambridge Analytica scandal accusation against Facebook that it is manipulating data and election result they are trying to impact through manipulating data. Some of the examples you can think, remember, can put in the answer, you can fairly answer this question well. In conclusion, if you are taking a stance, which one is more important, you're not required to write this conclusion itself, but you can go with your own also. But idea is, if you look at what is important, both are important. It is not like you cannot compromise this and go with professional efficiency. On the other hand, you cannot compromise professional efficiency and go with moral integrity also. Both integrity and professional efficiency ensures business offer lasting value to all stakeholders. Okay. Major takeaway is how I generated the point, how I approach the answer. Now let's discuss the second question. Yeah, go through this question once. International aid is an accepted form of helping resource-challenged nations. You have a statement here. Comment on ethics in contemporary international aid. Support your answer with suitable examples. So brainstorm for a while how you are going to approach this answer. बताओ. ठीक है. Tell me the basic things. What will be different parts of this answer? How you are going to fill your 2-page criteria? Define, you will write 2-3 line introduction defining international aid, giving some example of international aid. You can start with different types of introductions. ठीक है, और क्या करेगा? Directly you are going into negatives. Here the question, what kind of question it is? You have a statement. International aid is accepted form of helping resource challenged nations. After that statement, you have a set of questions. Comment on ethics in contemporary international aid. So first address the statement. Make your introduction. In this kind of question, you can even make your introduction up to half of the first page. Lengthy introduction is possible in this question. Why a lengthy introduction is possible? Because through the introduction, what we are trying to achieve, we are substantiating the statement. You can give 2-3 examples. You can make 3-4 points, at least 2-3 points based on this statement, importance of international aid for resource challenged nations. You can give some examples of India's Vaccine Maitri program, or India's aid to Sri Lanka, or other World Bank aid to, you told about World Bank multilateral organizations, World Bank initiatives during the pandemic, or any other contemporary examples that is coming into your mind, you can put it here to show the you can use quote also, but idea is it should be relevant to the, you should make it relevant to the XYZ, like poverty anywhere is a threat to humanity elsewhere. So you get no issues with using or not using the quote. Make it relevant to international aid, that is the whole idea. Second part, what you will bring? Now here comment on ethics in contemporary international aid is the question. Now we are trying to address this question. Now if you think of international aid, it is not something like you can completely go with one side. International aid has its positive aspects, has its negative aspects. So it's better you bring both your aspects instead of bringing your own perspective. What can be ethical arguments in support of international aid? Minimum 3 to 4 points. We made here 2 points here, 3 to 4 points here. Second part will be ethical arguments against international aid, 3 to 4 points, at least 1 or 2 examples in each section. Then a 3-line conclusion, 1 point here, your answer will be done. Okay, so this will be our fairly approach to this question. Let's move ahead. So introduction, international aid offers resources, expertise, enhancing living standards, resilience in needy nations. Like different functions of international aid I have shortlisted. Then I have given some of the recent examples. Why I am writing a, normally I always prefer minimum introduction, just 1 line, 2 line introductions. But why we are extending it here? Because it is substantiating the statement. 2-3 examples in support, positive examples of international aid you can give. Then you can think on some of the second, like major part of this question also. In last question we think from the perspective of stakeholders and we got the answer. Here you can think on basic questions like who is providing the international aid, purpose of, what is the purpose of providing the international aid, how is international aid is being provided, to whom it is being provided, what are the consequences, impacts of this aid. You can also think on these aspects. Who is providing aid means it can be multilateral groups, it can be countries, it even can be private individuals or private organization or groups. One famous example, WEF, or WEF more or like multilateral organization. Private examples means like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, different charity organizations you can bring under this. Countries though means India or US, helping US aid to Pakistan, all these examples you can come into your mind. So these 1 or 2 examples from all these dimensions, you will get your some of the points. Think on these lines. Purpose, some of the aid can be positive if it is truly based on charity basis, humanitarian basis. It is truly based on bringing in education, healthcare to the XYZ region. That purpose, then it is ethical. Deontological perspective you can bring in. If intention is right, then it is ethical thing to do. But some aids are not truly based on humanitarian purposes. They have underlying strategic aims and objectives. For example, Greenpeace incident, they have been getting funding from China and other adversaries against India, and they are making environmental activism activities, funding environmental activism in India. Now, funding environmental activism by Chinese groups, what is their purpose? Their purpose is not protecting environment. Their purpose is only one thing, that is blocking, delaying the development projects, delaying the infrastructure. Kudankulam project was one of the classic example of this. Now, how this Kudankulam nuclear power plant, I think the protest is still going on, but the plant started functioning. Now, how the aid is being given? What can be the positive aspects? Some aid comes with institutionalization. They brings local SFGs, microfinancing groups. So these, if you bring these kind of aids to the country, that brings a system, makes a system so that it can propel, it can grow further. That's very ethical thing to do, to have. On the other hand, what can be negative? If you are giving aid to a corruption ridden country, where there is no system so that equitable distribution happens, you give the international aid, the politicians or anybody who has the power, he will capture the major chunk of the aid. Who it is intended to get, it will not reach that person. Corruption can also become, what is famous in India? NGOs. We have so much case of NGOs, fund transfer issues, fund transfer frauds. They are no opaque system. You might have read in GS3 and all. So this also you can cite to bring you into your answer. Similarly, to whom? Like how you decide who is deserving of the charity. Many of the time it is done on arbitrary basis. Who is have the power, who get that. Who have the power to show that there is poverty in my country, get that aid. It's not that they are the most needy persons. So there is no equitable regulatory system to ensure that the most needy or some kind of fairness is there in the distribution of the aid. Now, impacts. What is the major problem with a development that is guided by aid? Even we use this something like Gandhi's talisman also. What is one of the major idea of Gandhi's talisman? Like there are n set of ideas. One major idea is when you have to take a decision, remember who is most needy person, something like that. Beyond that, on impacts, what you can think of? Batao? It can make some kind of dependency. The aid you provide, then it is run by aid. You are not doing any work, you are getting some kind of funding from elsewhere. You are becoming dependent on this funding. Now you are getting a resources you don't worked. You are getting a money that you haven't worked for that. Now that creates certain kind of dependency. Whenever the funding stops, then the whole ecosystem breaks down. It is not converting into actual capabilities of the people. You are giving 100 rupees today, that is being spent on food or whatever XYZ, that is being no capital investment, whether it is social capital, whether it is infrastructure development, long-term capital development is not happening. Then the aid is nothing but creeping some kind of dependency, international dependency you can speak about. So these are the dimensions you should explore, and fairly it is enough to generate 5 points in pro and 5 points in cons of international aid. So here you can see the answers. So these all model answers you can download from the Telegram group of our website. It is all provided in the website. So I hope you got the crux of it. Almost all the things we have discussed so far is written here. I'm not going through each one of it. Okay. Let's move further. So MIB references ethical issues in international funding. Like this is also a direct topic picked from the syllabus. If you have done a basic study for ethical issues in international relations and funding, you could have at least remembered some examples. Even there is criticism against World Bank. Even during the pandemic time, what we have seen is developed countries are lobbying to get maximum vaccines to their countries. There is no humanitarian concern. That all becomes secondary when the need was at the urgency. So all these US based, or you can say the Western group of organizations has been under criticism. Same goes with US foreign aid to Pakistan, European Union aid of handling of refugee crisis by the European Union. All these, some of the examples you can pinpoint from this and fairly address the demand of this question. Conclusion, the ethical dimension, you cannot, it's very hard to completely negate either of the side. There is positive elements of international aid. For example, Sri Lanka, India given aid to Sri Lanka. That has been highly appreciated. Like, it helped the country, get the country to move out of the crisis. Now they may repay in the future also. They have the capacity, they have proven there, if political system is being settled, Sri Lanka has the capacity to invest in human development. So when it moves on, it may repay also. So that kind of help is something that is helpful to the country. On the other hand, help like China is offering to Pakistan. What China is doing, debt trap, or buying the resources, or pushing Pakistan into nationwide lockdowns, or this kind of power shedding. Nationwide, throughout the nation, the power is being cut off. Why it is being cut off? Because the power companies are run by Chinese companies, and Pakistan is not able to pay these companies. They have no consideration, just cut off the power if no money. So these kind of so in conclusion, you have to like mention both these has its own credits and demerits. The ethical dimension of international aid navigates tension between humanitarian assistance and challenges like corruption and political agendas behind that. Let's move to the third question. So I want you to go through the question and brainstorm on what can be the different dimensions in this question. Then we will continue the answer. Okay. Why you are brainstorming in the rough page? Should have directly written. 10 markers you don't need to, it's not like essay, you brainstorm then write, you don't have that much of time also. Only 7 minutes you are getting for one answer, right? Better not to indulge in these kind of practices. So here also a very similar question. We have a statement, then after that a question is being asked. Corruption is the manifestation of the failure of the core values in the society. In your opinion, what measures can be adopted to uplift the core values in the society? So tell me what is the demand of this question? One thing you have to keep in mind is this question is not too much about corruption. What this question is about? This question is majorly about core values. So bring that aspect into your answer. You can at least understand that. Which part of the syllabus this question is coming? You have corruption issues in the syllabus at the later part, and at the early part, the human ethics and human relations, the first part, there is values, role of teachers, role of educational institutions, role of society, role of parents, all these values, formation, all these elements you study in the first part. So this question is more from the first part rather than a question from the second part. Your answer should always focus on core values. This much you understand, your work is done. You can fairly answer this question. In introduction, what you can do? Substantiate the statement, same as we done for the last question. Substantiate the statement. Prove that corruption is a fact of degrading values, or corruption is a manifestation of failure of core values. Some of 2-3 values you take, or some of 2-3 examples you give. Take half of the page, first page, substantiate the statement. Corruption thrives when society's ethical foundation is fragile, evidenced by political corruption, officials, bureaucracy, corruption, transparency, lack of transparency, institutional systematic issues, disrespect to public assets, citizens devalued ethics. Give 1-2 examples, at least 3 points, your work is done. You substantiated the statement. Now you have to answer the major part of the question, that is, in your opinion, what measures can be adopted to uplift these core values? Here what you should think, like in first question we have done stakeholder analysis. Second question we have thought from the perspective of asking basic questions. Here what you can think, what are the core values? What core values, failure of what values will result in corruption? Think on that perspective. What can be the values? It is not like you need to rocket science, you need to learn 10 books. What can be, give me 5 values. Integrity. Think from societal, like people's perspective. If people are dishonest, there will be corruption. Dishonesty is a value. If what can people can other values people can have? Trust, social contract. On these ideas you can think. Trust in the society is not there, there will be corruption. Greediness, if greediness is there, there will be crony capitalism, all this corruption. Now think from the official perspective or government perspective or bureaucrats perspective. What values if not there, there will be corruption. Transparency is not there, accountability, integrity, all these values if not there. Empathy, compassion, you can connect with all these values. If these values are not there, there will be exhibition of corruption. Now what is the next thing you have to do? These are the core values. How to improve these values? How to improve honesty in the society? How to improve accountability among civil servants or politicians or any other stakeholder you are thinking of? 5, 6, 7 elements you can think of. At least 2 points you can generate how to improve honesty in society. Give me 2 points. Value education provide karo. Appreciate karo honesty. If somebody is paying, we have some schemes like this. If somebody is paying highest amount of taxes in a region, some roads will be named after him. He will be given some rewards by the government. So these kind of giving an appreciation for honest tax paying. Honesty को appreciate करो society में, policies में at every level. Educational system revamp करो, like even National Education Policy 2020 have different provisions of moral education. So bring these elements into your XYZ answer writing. Getting how you can approach this question. Have you done similarly? Okay, good. So these are the values you can think of: honesty, integrity, transparency, accountability, justice, rule of law, social contract. N number of values you can think. This is not a comprehensive list. Then for every values I am trying to generate at least 2 points. I will get more than 10-15 points very easily. For honesty, moral education, we have told inspiring role models like APJ Abdul Kalam or any other role models, Vishwesvaraya you can think of. Integrity, code of conduct, enforce code of conduct at all levels, enforce whistleblower protection acts, transparency, open government policies like Pragati portal, freedom of information like RTI, strengthening of RTI Act, accountability, ombudsman policies, independent oversight mechanism, justice, independent judiciary, like n number of points you can generate. But the crux of idea how to generate these points you are understanding. Conclusion: a strong ethical backbone of core values lead to societal prosperity, emphasizing clarity, accountability, and unwavering integrity. Thing is, these upholding the values, you can only address the crux of corruption. Even when you study corruption, there are 2 ways to study of the corruption in the syllabus. When you study, there are 2 ways to tackle corruption. One is like making stringent laws, give more punishment, make the system more open, make system more efficient, so scope of the corruption is being reduced. Second is you address the core issue, that is value system ko change karo. Now nobody will speak about how to change the value system because that is not something that can be done in one day or 5-year term of a government. It requires consistent efforts over the decades. Then only you can address the corruption as systematic issue of corruption. So this aspect should highlight in your answer writing also in this question. Okay, let's go ahead. Go through the next question, then we will start the discussion. देखा? बताओ क्या समझ में आया? Differentiate between quite a very interesting question. Even these are not the terms which you study and go study the definitions and go for the exam. Integrity, all this accountability, all these standard definitions you have might have रट के गया होगा, इसमें तो थोड़ा confusing लग गया. ठीक है, in the context of work environment, differentiate between coercion and undue influence with suitable examples. Similar to first question, what you have to do? What is coercion? What is undue influence? You have to apply it in the context of work environment. What we done in the first question? It was corporate governance. So we looked at the what are the elements of corporate governance, then we generated the points. Here what you have to do, look at what are the elements of work environment. Then for different work environment, what can be coercion in that situation? What can be undue influence in that situation? You are done with your answer. Getting? So introduction, we can start with definition. Coercion means using threat or force. That is the major area of difference. Active use of threat or force to make someone act against their will, whereas undue influence is subtle manipulation of someone's decision by exploiting a position of power or trust. A higher authority or a person with higher powers, he is subtly manipulating your decision making, but at the end of the day you are making the decisions. You are not actively being forced. That comes under undue influence. And if direct force is being used, direct authority is being used, that comes under coercion. Introduction, 3-line introduction, we defined whatever is the two terms. Now what we are going to do in the context of work environment, how this thing reflects, that we are going to see. Same approach what we have done for the first question. What are the different elements? Physical environment. What can be coercion in physical environment? Recently a video came out, like some office has been locked up. Employees were not allowed to go to outside for chai or whatever they have to go outside. They were not allowed to. The office has been locked up. What is that? Some kind of a coercion in physical environment. If you don't do the work, don't go home. You are locking up the employees. Similarly, what can be social undue influence in physical environment? Think from this perspective, like some offices have poor conditions. Recently there has been a fire in Mukherjee Nagar. In some institute, some students has been injured, or the video has been circulated. So what exactly is happening? It is not that there is unregulated construction, there is non-safety mechanisms has been not followed. But thing is, if any student raise concern about this, he may be penalized. If any employee raise concern against this, his promotion may be blocked. His XYZ bonus, salaries, whatever it is, that may be blocked. If he raise his voice against some kind of the undue practices, it can be safety conditions, it can be unhygiene food, unhygiene working conditions, it can be any XYZ terms and conditions, dignity of the individual is being not protected. If you raise your concern, you have not raising your concern because you fear that management will turn against you. So that is some kind of a physical form environment, some kind of a undue influence. Similarly, in organizational culture, in social environment, in job characteristics, in compensation, in deciding compensation and rewards, any other aspect you can think also. Idea is break down work environment into 5-6 parts. For every part, what exactly is coercion? threatening job loss for not following XYZ ritual. If you wear hijab or if you attend some religious XYZ functions, then you will be expelled from the organization. Recently, there has been a case in Kerala also. One woman editorial panel journalist has been expelled from a news channel because she attended some political party's XYZ meeting. So these kind of influence, these are directly your threatened job loss is being threatened, job security or job is being threatened. So that is comes under coercion. Similarly, threatening isolation for not joining social events. Some kind of, you can think of coercion as bullying for not joining social functions, bullying within the colleagues, bullying within the organization, not among the higher authorities, even within the group also. Threatening job for not taking extra tasks. Many work culture in India, you see this kind of conduct, like 5 baje you have to leave the office, at 4:45 you will be given so much of work, and you have prompt reply, prompt date is also there. If you don't do, then it is a negative mark on it. Similarly, withholding bonuses without overtime. All these are like withholding your money, withholding your XYZ job security. All this comes under direct coercion. In kind of undue influence, suggesting promotions linked to tolerating poor office conditions, reminding an employee of norms of working late. Like working late has become kind of a normalization of working late, especially in the IT industries. Those who work on time, 8 hours, who is the working hours, those who work 8 hours are being penalized because that is they're considered to be a less working people, not hardworking people. Need to stay late in order to get ahead culture. Highlighting everyone's attendance after hours. Like you can only punch out after 6 o'clock, even though your working hours is still 5 o'clock. That kind of habit. Suggesting extra tasks lead to success. Implied rewards for not claiming overtime. All these are different aspects of undue influence. The crux of this whole question is divide based on work environment, 5-6 dimensions. Then you try to define undue influence and coercion in each of these situations. In conclusion, leveraging a clear understanding of coercion and undue influence helps creating a more transparent, equitable, empowering work environment. What is how you respond to coercion and undue influence? Or how if you want to check coercion and undue influence, which one is easy to check? Stop. Coercion means there is direct use of force. That is against legal aspect, against rules and regulations. This, if you happened, you can even register complaint. If it is at a higher level, you can consult into labor codes, you can consult into other XYZ grievance redressal mechanisms within the organization, outside the organization. There are systemic supports available to you. But on the other hand, if undue influence happening, it's very difficult to track, very difficult to prove, very difficult to like mismanage, very high scope of mismanaging undue influence. So this is become quite difficult. If this has to be tackled, then only solution is revamping the work environment. Or work culture of the organization, value system of the organization. On these aspects you have to work. On organizational structure you have to redefine. On promotion models, payment models, everything, every aspect you have to work on. Then only there will be a change in our possibility of checking undue influence. Whereas coercion you can work on reporting, strengthen karo, redressal, grievance redressal mechanism strengthen karo. You can address by strengthening the external mechanisms also. Let's go ahead. Let's go to the third question. Go through the question, make a mental framework, then we'll start the discussion. Namaste Lalit. If anyone watching online, you want to ask something, you can comment into live chat. Yeah. Now let's move to quotation based question. Every year minimum you are getting 3 quotation based question, and sometimes 6 also you get if some pattern change in trending is happening. 30 marks up to 60 marks maximum. How you should approach this? What is your XYZ thought process or approach to